I'm just gonna record your answer so that I
Okay.
can go back and,
I will do my dead level best.
all right, so the first question, this is about, like I said, about budget. This is a financial project, so it's about the budget process. So the first question is, about fund allocation. It says, describe how funds are distributed within the school district. And can you identify any major, categories of spending? Like personnel, facilities, technology, programs. And it says, within the school or district, so I'm just gonna do within the school.
Okay, because I can give you a little bit of both.
Oh, okay.
You know, like the funds that we get from the district, there are federal funds, which are like your title funds.
Mhm.
So we get a Title I budget every year. And our budget has been everywhere from 125,000 to 160,000. And within that budget, you can budget for personnel.
Oh, okay.
You can budget for materials and supplies, computer hardware, professional development, parental involvement, software, any number of things. There's a lot of different categories that you budget for, and every year at the start of the year, we get that big budget for our school, and we start moving money into categories based on where we think we're gonna need it the most. Twice during the year, once in January and then once again in May, you can make amendments to that budget.
Oh, okay.
Like if you found some new needs or some things, you know, you need to shift it around, you can shift it around. That's the biggest budget that we deal with, like at the school level every year. And it comes from the federal government to the state government to Cherokee County Schools, and then it's distributed to us.
Okay.
So that's the biggest one that we do.
You get more? Any more from anywhere else?
Yes, so we also have what's called our instructional budgets. And that's money set aside by the state specifically for your library,
Mm-hmm.
your technology, your professional development, and then this year they added back common purchases. So if you'll think back to when every year at the beginning of the year we elect a budget committee,
Mm-hmm.
and then we put the budgets out and you vote on those budgets, that's what that money is.
Oh,
And that's based off the number of teacher units that you have. So typically we get somewhere around $5,500 for professional development. We get $5,500 for common purchases. That would be like copies, copier paper, printer, ink, you know, for the poster maker, paper, anything that we all use collectively together, that could be a common purchase.
oh, okay.
Then you usually get around 8,000 total for the library and around $27,000 for technology equipment or software.
Oh, okay.
So federal budget, then that's your instructional budget. The other thing that we get, and this is just a Cherokee County local thing, since we started our energy conservation program, we get savings. That savings based off of what we're saving on our low energy costs, that is distributed amongst the schools based on your student population. So we typically get somewhere between $25,000 and $27,000 that is just given to me as a local school, and we have a lot of flexibility with that.
So it doesn't come off the school saves, it's like, it's
That's
distributed according to how
count-
many students you have.
Countywide savings based on what we were spending on electricity and water prior to our energy conservation program. So now all that money that we used to spend on, you know, high power bills, high water bills, now that we've started cutting those costs, that savings is distributed out to the schools.
Oh, okay.
And so there's not a lot of strings attached to it. So I have a committee that I meet with, and we can set the budget based on what we believe are the needs of the school.
Oh, okay.
And then it has to be board approved. But I'll give you some example, like that energy money we've spent one year I used it to help fund an extra kindergarten unit.
Mhm.
The bleachers in the old gym, we
Mhm.
put in there. The heat and cooling system in the old gym, we did that. The fence around everything, the mop machine, we did. We paid for some flooring with it, this LVP in pre-K, and then down there in your old stomping grounds, we paid for that flooring with that money. So those are some things that we've just done that we've seen. We've used it to purchase custodial supplies. We've used it to help pay for our grass cutting,
Yeah.
so it just depends on, I've got a lot of flexibility with that money, where
Yeah.
the federal money and then that instructional budget money, it's earmarked for certain areas.
Okay,
We get flexibility with that, and that's just a local thing. That's a Cherokee County thing.
so does that money usually last like all year long and roll over, or do you usually spend it all?
It does roll over,
Mhm.
but they like for you to spend it,
Oh,
um,
why?
because we're not a bank.
Uh-huh,
The money that we have is meant to be spent.
oh, okay,
And so when your auditors come in every year, they wanna know, why are you not spending this money? Why is this money sitting in your account? Because we're not a bank. We need to be spending.
so is it hard to find things to spend it on sometimes?
At times, the stuff that's earmarked,
Mm-hmm,
yes, it is. When you get down to, near the end of your budgets and, just finding things that you want, it can be difficult at times. And so what happens with that big federal budget, okay, let's say we don't spend all of that money, then it goes into what's called carryover.
mm,
And so that is all thrown into a pool. Like, let's say my budget was $169,000 and I didn't spend it all, and I had $5,000 left, and it might have been spread out over different categories. All of that $5,000 then goes into a big pot called carryover. Sandrock's gonna put their extra in there, Spring Garden, Center Middle, Cherokee County High. All of it goes into that big carryover money, and then it is distributed evenly back out to us, and we can replace it in a different area and spend it.
so if one school had $10,000 and another only had two,
Yeah, I hate putting money in carryover,
Yeah,
because
that
I
kinda
then
stinks.
I lose control of it.
yeah,
But I love it when Ben East doesn't spend his money, because he throws it into carryover and I may get more,
yeah,
With the state instructional money, whatever you don't spend gets sent back to the state. So we try to zero that out every
Yeah.
year. We're gonna spend it first. I want it gone. Library money, PD money, technology money, we wanna spend it and get it out of here.
awesome. Well, that's why y'all are always telling us, spend your state fee money.
That's,
You only
well,
have until this,
yeah,
because that happens to ours too.
yeah, so, yeah, whatever you don't spend gets turned back in.
I'll make sure I'll
Yeah.
spend all mine.
Yeah.
All right, so what stakeholders are involved? Identify who is involved in the budgeting process. Superintendent, school board, principals, finance director, community members. Discuss the role of some of those stakeholders.
So, there's a district budget committee that's obviously made up of the superintendent and the CFO, and they do their thing. Here
What's
at
the
the,
CFO?
the
Central
Chief
Finance
Financial Officer,
Chief Finance.
that's
Officer.
Robin Cunningham.
Okay.
So, here at the local level, we have to have a Title I budget committee, and that's made up of me, our Title I contact rep, which is Kaylin, and then she has to have a parent on there, a community member, and then a couple of faculty members on their Title I budget committee. And we share that budget with all of them, and then they, approve and sign off that, yes, we approve that this budget is set. And you do the same thing in January when you have an amendment, and then again in May when you have an amendment. For the instructional budgets, I'm required by law to have a popular vote committee, which is what we do every year
Mhm.
at our first faculty meeting.
Yeah.
So I'm required, I have to keep those paper ballots. And then that budget committee then sits down with me and we write a budget And we try to be as broad as we can so that we can spend that money however people seem to need it.
Yeah.
Like if you wanna go to an autism conference, you know, we're gonna put on there, you know, registration fees for workshops, we're gonna put, you know, travel on there, in-state and out-of-state. Because if it was in Atlanta, we would have to have it budgeted under out-of-state money, so we
Yeah.
try to make it pretty broad so that we can spend it easier.
Well, see, now I thought that only special ed paid for stuff like that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, we're given 5,500 straight up for PD,
Mhm.
just for Center Elementary School, through that state budget. We put money from our title budget into professional development as well. But in order to stretch that money out, sometimes, like, if you call and say, I wanna go to this autism conference, I may pick up the phone and call Tara, hey, do you have any special ed money that you need to spend on PD?
yeah,
Because Christy's wanting to go to this autism conference, so I'm gonna call her. If she says, we don't have any money, I may call Randy Smith and I say, hey, do you have any money that just has to be spent on PD? Because mine, in my federal budget, doesn't have to be spent on PD. I can repurpose it into materials and
Oh.
supplies. So I'm gonna make a few phone calls first and see
Uh-huh.
if somebody's got money they need to spend.
uh-huh,
So that's why sometimes when you go places, it may say special ed,
oh, okay.
or it may be like Title V
Mhm.
or Title II. You know, I'm just gonna call around and check some sources, because why spend my money
Yeah, if you can use somebody
if
else's.
they've got money that has to be spent, you know?
Yeah. What about, why do parents have to be involved?
Well, as part of Title I, I mean, the Department of Education wants there to be community and parental involvement in the school. So, I guess the thinking there is like, hey, you know, these are people who are invested in the school,
Uh-huh.
they need to be part of the decision-making process too.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if I have a parent, like my energy money has a committee. And one thing, the bus awning and the car runner awnings, we pay for out of energy money. Well, the parents on my committee said, hey, you know, we really need to get some awnings, and I agree, you know, but you just have input from that,
Mhm.
just to get some extra eyes from outside on it, to make sure it's not just, you know, King West making all
Yeah.
the decisions, you know,
Yeah.
which is good. I don't wanna be a king. I wanna be, and I like having eyes on it, and,
Yeah.
you know, lots of people saying, hey, I think this would be something really great, cause I don't have all the good ideas. Most of our good ideas come from somebody else.
How do you choose which parent?
Typically you ask for volunteers, because, you know, not everybody wants to be on it. When it gets to instructional budget committee, I'm supposed to hold a popular vote with parents, but that's impossible. We've tried it, nobody comes and votes. So sometimes I'll just, if I have a parent who's volunteering up here, I see them a lot, I may say, hey, would you be interested in serving on my budget committee?
Hmm,
You know?
wow. And they usually say yes?
Mhm.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, what is the budget development process? You kind of explained that. But this one says, explain the steps involved in creating the budget, including timelines, required documentation, and any review or approval phases.
Well, the energy budget requires me to meet with my school advisory committee, and then typically what I'll do is I'll kind of set a budget based off what I know we need.
Mhm.
And then I will share that budget with my committee, and I'll say, look, here's some things I'm thinking about for this energy money. Give me some feedback. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just say, hey, looks great. If that's what you think we need, let's go with it. And then we submit that to the board, and they have to approve it. For title, usually Kayla and I will sit down with our Title I money, and we will start placing money into the different categories.
Mhm.
And kind of talk about, you know, what are some things that we need. We typically spend this much on technology, so let's put this much in here. This is what we typically spend on school supplies, let's put this much in here. And then we sort of form the budget, and then we put it out to our committee for feedback. Sometimes you get some sometimes you don't, you know, it just depends. But like if we hear, not just with our budget committee, but like, let's say I got Charlene Pollard on that budget committee, and she's our technology person. She may come in and say, hey, I know we got 3 ViewSonics that are about to crash. We need a budget for 3 new ones.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the feedback
Yeah.
you want, so
Yeah.
then we can slide that money in there, and we've got it covered, you know, or she may say, I think we need to prepare to replace X number of ViewSonics, so we're gonna budget that money
Yeah.
in there. And then for the instructional budgets, I meet with my committee, but we try to make it really broad on that one so that we can spend that money anywhere, you
Yeah.
know.
Just kinda takes experience to learn how to do all that.
Yeah. It sounds complicated, but
Yeah.
it's not that complicated, you know. I guess the common denominator in all 3 of these budgets is, it's not just you.
Yeah.
You may be starting the process and
Mhm.
kind of organizing the process, but you're getting feedback from people and you just place it. And the reason they let you do amendments is because your needs change
Mhm.
through the year. You know, when you may not know in August, you know, like one year, I didn't know in August that we were gonna need another kindergarten unit,
Yeah.
you know, but then it came that time and I really felt like we needed one and the board wasn't gonna give me one. So I repurposed some title money, some energy money, and scraped up enough money to hire another kindergarten teacher.
Did
for a
they
year.
have to approve it once you,
Yes.
but you had the money?
Yeah. The first thing I did was go and ask Mr. Geist for a new unit, and he got mad. He was upset. He was like, no, you take one of these 3rd grade teachers and send them to kindergarten. Well, I didn't like those options. You know, and I wasn't going to the week before school started go tell one of these 3rd grade teachers, you're going to teach kindergarten. So he was upset, he was mad at me, which is fine, I don't care. But I had a plan, I had a backup plan, and it was to pull from title, to pull from my energy money to get enough money to fund a teacher. And once I told him plan B, I said, look, plan A was, maybe you just take care of it, and I can use this money somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, but you're saying no.
Well, how did you pay for that unit the next year? Same way?
We didn't have it again.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah, we just cut it.
that explains that. Okay.
We just needed it for 1 year and then we were
Oh.
good.
Just cut it or moved that teacher?
We just had a huge enrollment that year. I had gambled on knocking my kindergarten teachers down to 7 because of some budget cuts elsewhere, and turns out we needed it.
Mm. You just never know.
Yeah.
Never know. Okay, review process. Identify who reviews and approves the proposed budget before implementation. You've kind of
That would be
over
our
all these,
committees.
but, mhm.
Yeah, I mean, our committees do
And
that.
you have 2 separate committees.
Right, and everything has to be signed off, like, the instructional budgets have to be board approved. The title budget has to be approved by our federal programs and then by the state, so you just kind of pass it on up.
So they don't have to, the instructional budgets don't have to be approved by the board.
Yes, I have to submit those to our CFO, Robin, and she gets approval for those. Yeah, we approve it with our committee here, and then
Mhm.
we send it on up.
Which ones did you say has to go to, the other one goes to the federal programs and then the
The
state?
title budget.
Title
The title
budget.
one, yeah.
So it doesn't have to be approved by the board?
No.
Oh.
No, well, I don't think so. We submit to federal programs, which is Randy Smith, and he sends it on up the ladder to Montgomery.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure, I really don't know whether or not our board approves that or not. I really don't know. I know that they're involved in the instructional budgets and the energy budget,
Uh-huh.
but I'm unsure about the federal. Once we send it to Randy, I don't know where it goes. I don't know if it goes straight to Montgomery or if the board approves it first,
Oh.
but I can find out.
Yeah, that'd be good. Of course,
Yep.
you may not be able to find out before Sunday.
I might could,
Okay. Yeah,
see what I
that'd be
can
good.
find out.
Are there any special funding stipulations, like any restrictions or requirements on the use of certain funds?
Tons. Everything has strings attached. You know? Yeah, I mean, there are categories in that title budget.
Just give me a couple.
So, in that title budget, there's categories,
Mm-hmm.
and the money has to fit within those categories, and whatever you buy must be in that category.
They check it?
Yes.
Like, really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Despite what you hear about Elon Musk and Doge, there's a lot of accountability with federal money. I
Huh.
mean, a lot. It's to the penny.
Wow.
So it all has to be placed in categories and can only be spent from those categories. But then you can amend it and move money through categories, but it's still, the categories don't change.
Yeah, but,
So if your roof is leaking and you got 150,000 in title money, you can't repair a roof with it. That's not what that money's for, you know,
well, what do you repair the roof with?
local money,
Oh,
local money.
if you have it.
If you have it,
What do you do if you don't?
put a bucket out.
That's funny.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, well, unless you have a roof leak and then it's not funny
Yeah, then
anymore.
it's not funny.
Okay, well, that's all I got. Thank you.
Clear as mud.
Yep.